Mr. Okonkwo considered himself a king, not of a nation, but of something better. 20 small condo units packed into a single compound in Lagos, housing families who had nowhere else to go. He'd bought the property 15 years ago and converted it into affordable housing, not out of kindness, but out of strategy. Keep the rent just low enough that desperate people would tolerate anything to stay, high enough that they'd always struggle, perfect enough that he could control them completely. At 45, he'd mastered the art of exploitation, expensive Igbata flowing as he walked through his compound, gold watch catching sunlight, luxury car parked prominently where everyone could see it. He made sure his tenants never forgot the difference between his world and theirs. The first of every month was his favorite day. Rent collection, public performance, power display. He'd sit in his ground floor office, the largest unit, converted into his personal domain, and make them come one by one. Those who paid on time got dismissed quickly. Those who were short got called into the courtyard. Today, 3 people were short. An elderly man whose pension hadn't arrived, a young couple whose business had slow sales, and Amara. Amara stood outside his office door, her 5-year-old daughter Chioma clutching her hand, trying to steady her breathing. She'd never been late before, not once in 3 years. But this month, everything had collapsed at once. Her mother's emergency surgery, 50,000 naira she couldn't refuse to pay. Chioma's sudden illness, medication and doctor visits adding up. Her salary from the government hospital delayed 2 weeks because of administrative complications. She'd borrowed from everyone she could, sold her gold earrings, the last jewelry she owned, skipped meals to save money. Still came up 15,000 naira short of the 35,000 rent. "Come in," Okonkwo's voice called. Amara entered, leaving Chioma in the hallway. Some conversations weren't for children's ears. Okonkwo didn't look up from his phone. "You're short." "Yes, sir. 15,000. But I can explain. Everyone can explain." He finally looked at her, his eyes traveling over her nurse's uniform with an assessment that made her skin crawl. "Your mother's surgery. Your daughter's illness. Your delayed salary. I already know. I always know." "Then you understand." "I understand that your problems are my problems." He leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled. "But I'm a generous man. I could be persuaded to help." Something in his tone made her stomach drop. "There's a way you could stay here rent-free. Not just this month. A whole month free." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Spend 1 night with me. Your financial problems disappear." The words hung in the air like poison. Amara had known this moment might come. She'd heard whispers from other female tenants, seen the way he looked at struggling women, but hearing it directed at her, spoken so casually, as if her dignity was just another transaction. "No." Her voice was steady despite her shaking hands. "I would rather be homeless." His face hardened. "Then you'll get your wish. Be in the courtyard at 6 p.m. Everyone needs to see what happens when people refuse my generosity. Please, I just need 2 weeks. 6 p.m. Don't be late." He returned to his phone, dismissing her like garbage. Amara left his office, scooped up Chioma, and hurried to her unit. She had 4 hours before the humiliation began. At exactly 6 p.m., Okonkwo's assistant knocked on doors throughout the compound. "Landlord calls everyone to the courtyard. Now." This was the ritual, the public shaming. Entertainment for some, warning for others, humiliation for the victims. 20 units meant roughly 50 people, when you counted children and extended family members. They gathered in the central courtyard, a concrete space surrounded by the 2-story building. Clotheslines hanging overhead, the smell of evening cooking mixing with dust. 3 people were made to stand at the front. The elderly man, Mr. Adeyemi, already crying. The young couple, holding hands, faces down. And Amara, standing straight, refusing to show fear even though terror churned in her stomach. Chioma stood with a neighbor woman who'd offered to watch her. But the little girl could see her mother, and her eyes were wide with confusion. Okonkwo emerged from his office like a king addressing subjects. His Igbata was pristine white with gold embroidery, his leather slippers Probably cost more than 3 months of anyone's rent. My people, he began, voice carrying across the silent crowd. We gather on sad occasions, when people fail to honor their commitments. He turned to Mr. Adeyemi first. Old man, you're short 5,000 naira. At your age, you should have savings. You should have planned better. My pension, Mr. Adeyemi's voice broke. Excuses. Get on your knees and beg properly. Maybe I'll give you 3 days. The old man's knees cracked as he lowered himself to the concrete. The crowd looked away, ashamed to witness but too afraid to intervene. Please, sir, please. 3 days. I'll pay. Okonkwo let him grovel for a full minute before nodding. 3 days. If you're late again, you're out. He moved to the young couple next, repeated the ritual, made them apologize for failing to manage their business properly, gave them 1 week, but only after they'd begged long enough. Then he turned to Amara. Nurse Amara. His voice changed, took on an edge the others hadn't heard. Always so proud, so dignified, working at the hospital, saving lives, thinking you're better than the rest. Amara said nothing, met his eyes steadily. But pride doesn't pay rent, does it? He circled her slowly, performing for the crowd. You're short 15,000 naira. That's almost half your rent. Almost half. My mother needed surgery. I don't care about your mother. His voice cracked like a whip. I don't care about your daughter's illness. I don't care about your government salary delays. Those are your problems. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. This was harsher than usual. I offered you a solution in my office. A generous solution. You refused. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. They understood what he meant. Some of the women looked at Amara with sympathy. Some of the men looked at the ground. You think you're too good for my help? Okonkwo's face was close to hers now. Let me tell you what you are. You're a single mother. You know what that means. Amara's jaw tightened. It means nobody wanted you enough to stay. His voice dropped to a cruel whisper that somehow carried to every ear. The man who gave you that child. He gestured toward Chioma, took one look at responsibility, and ran. That tells me everything I need to know about your worth. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Not from fear. From the wound he'd just opened. The deepest wound. The one that never fully healed. When she'd told Daniel she was pregnant 7 years ago, he'd looked at her with panic, then anger, then nothing at all. I'm not ready to be a father, he'd said, and disappeared. Changed his number. Moved cities. Abandoned her completely. She'd raised Chioma alone. Worked through pregnancy. Delivered with only her mother beside her. Built a life from nothing. But the scar remained. The question that haunted her late at night. Was I not worth staying for? And now, Okonkwo was turning that scar into a public spectacle. Please, she heard herself say, hating the weakness in her voice. I'll pay in 2 weeks. I've never been late before. I'm evicting you. His voice was final. Tonight, you and your daughter can sleep on the street. Gasps from the crowd. Even for Okonkwo, this was extreme. And you want to know why? He turned to address everyone. Because I want you all to see what happens when someone thinks they're too proud to accept my generosity. When someone thinks they're too good for the help I offer. He turned back to Amara, his final blow ready. You're a poor single mother with nothing. No money. No support. No man. Nobody wants you. Amara. Nobody wanted you then, and nobody wants you now. You're damaged goods. Someone else's burden. And you'll stay unwanted and alone until you learn your place. The words landed like physical blows. Amara's tears spilled over, not from fear of homelessness, though that terrified her, but from hearing her deepest fear spoken aloud as fact. Chioma broke free from the neighbor woman and ran to her mother, wrapping small arms around Amara's legs. Mommy, don't cry. The sight of mother and daughter clinging to each other while a wealthy man towered over them in judgment should have moved someone to action. But fear kept everyone frozen. No one saw the expensive black Range Rover that had slowed on the street outside the compound. No one noticed the back window rolling down, a passenger looking out at the commotion visible through the open gate. No one heard the sharp command. Stop the car. They only noticed when the car door opened and a man stepped out. A tall man in an expensive suit. A man whose very presence seemed to shift the air. A man who walked through the compound gate with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no in his life. And he walked straight toward the scene of Amara's humiliation with the look of someone about to change everything. The courtyard fell silent as the stranger entered. Not the uncomfortable silence of witnessing humiliation, but the shocked silence of something unexpected interrupting a familiar nightmare. Chinedu Okafor hadn't planned to stop. He'd been on his way back from a site inspection, mind occupied with construction timelines and foundation issues, when his driver had slowed for traffic near this compound. He glanced out the window idly and seen the crowd gathered, seen a man in expensive clothes towering over a woman in a nurse's uniform, seen a small child clinging to the woman's legs. He'd almost looked away. Lagos was full of scenes like this, other people's problems. But something had stopped him. Maybe the rigid way the woman held herself despite tears. Maybe the protective way she held her daughter. Maybe the cruel satisfaction on the man's face. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe it was the fact that he'd been that small child once, clinging to his mother while a landlord had made her beg. Stop the car, he'd told his driver. Sir, this isn't our concern. Stop the car. Now he stood in the courtyard, taking in the scene with sharp eyes that missed nothing. 20 units. Clearly a rental compound. One wealthy man. Multiple scared tenants. A woman being publicly humiliated with her child watching. He understood the situation immediately. Okonkwo had been mid-sentence, his back to the gate, when he'd noticed his audience's attention shift. He turned, irritation flashing across his face. This is private property. Who are you? Chinedu ignored him, walked straight to Amara instead, his eyes taking the details. Her nurse's uniform, still on from work, her tear-streaked face, her daughter's small hands gripping her mother's dress, the way she stood despite everything, broken but not defeated. What did he just say to you? Chinedu asked her directly. Amara looked up at the stranger, confusion cutting through her distress. I don't understand. What did he say? Chinedu's voice was gentle but insistent. Okonkwo stepped between them. Listen, whoever you are, this is a private matter between me and my tenant. Chinedu's eyes shifted to him, and something in that look made Okonkwo step back. I asked her a question. I'll ask you one too. Chinedu's voice dropped cold. What did you just say to this woman? I said. Okonkwo paused, some survival instinct warning him. I said she needs to pay her rent or leave. That's not all you said. I heard you from outside. Tell me the exact words. The crowd held its breath. Okonkwo's jaw tightened. I said nobody will want her. Because it's true. She's a single mother. She has nothing. No man will. I want her. 3 words. Said clearly. Said firmly. Said with absolute conviction. Time stopped. Every person in that courtyard froze. Okonkwo mid-gesture, tenants mid-breath, Amara mid-tear. Chinedu looked directly at Okonkwo. You said nobody will want her. You're wrong. I want her. Okonkwo laughed, but it sounded nervous. What? Who are you? This is ridiculous. I'm the man who's about to change everything. Chinedu turned to Amara. How much do you owe him? 15,000 naira, but I don't understand what's happening. Chinedu pulled out his wallet, but he didn't count out 15,000. He counted out 50,000 naira in clean bills and placed them in Amara's shaking hands. 3 months paid in advance. You don't owe him anything now. He turned to Okonkwo. Issue her receipt. Okonkwo sputtered. You can't just walk in here and, who do you think you are? I think I'm someone who knows the difference between power and cruelty. Issue the receipt. This is MY property. I don't care about your money. She disrespected me by refusing my generosity. Chinedu's eyes narrowed. Your generosity. Explain exactly what you mean by that. Okonkwo realized his mistake. Backtracked quickly. I offered her a payment plan. She refused. She needs to learn respect. That's not what she'll tell me if I ask privately, is it? Chinedu looked at Amara. What did he really offer you in his office? Amara hesitated, shame flooding her face. She didn't want to say it in front of everyone, in front of her daughter, but a voice came from the crowd. An older woman, emboldened by the stranger's intervention. He propositioned her, told her to spend the night with him for free rent. The courtyard erupted in murmurs. Other voices joined. He did the same to my niece last year. He makes us beg on our knees when we're late. He threatens us constantly. Chinedu listened to each voice, his face growing darker. He pulled out his phone and started recording. Everyone who has a complaint, I want to hear it. Clearly, for the record. Okonkwo's face reddened. This is harassment. Get off my property. Not yet. Chinedu pocketed his phone after several testimonies. Now I'll tell you who I am. My name is Chinedu Okafor. I own Okafor Properties and Construction. The name hit like a thunderbolt. Okafor Properties was one of the largest real estate companies in Nigeria. Everyone recognized it. Okonkwo's face went pale. I stopped my car because I heard you tell this woman that nobody would want her. I stopped because I saw you abuse your power over vulnerable people. And I stopped because I believe wealth should lift people up, not crush them. He addressed Amara directly. I said I want you. Let me be clear about what I mean. I'm building a private hospital as part of my foundation. I need skilled nurses who understand struggle, who treat patients with dignity. If you're interested, the job is yours. Better salary, better conditions, better future for your daughter. Amara's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Tears flowed, but different tears now. Why? She finally whispered. Why would you do this for a stranger? Because someone helped my mother when we had nothing. Because I remember what it's like to watch someone you love be humiliated for being poor. Because I can. He turned back to Okonkwo. I'm reporting you to the Lagos State Property Regulation Board. Sexual harassment, abuse of position, and I'm willing to bet we'll find code violations when we inspect this property properly. You have no proof. These people are liars. Chinedu held up his phone. I have testimony, and I'll get more. He looked around the courtyard. Anyone else who wants to file a complaint, I'll provide legal support, free of charge. Hands went up, more than half the crowd. You can't do this, Okonkwo said, but his voice had lost its power. I can, and I am. Chinedu pulled out his business card, handed it to Amara. Call me tomorrow. We'll discuss the job details and get you settled. He looked at Lil Chioma, who'd been watching everything with wide eyes. He knelt to her level. Your mother is very brave and very strong. Don't forget that. Chioma nodded, still clinging to Amara. Chinedu stood, gave Okonkwo one last look of contempt, and walked back toward his car. But at the gate, he turned. You said nobody would want her. You were wrong. And I'm going to make sure she knows exactly how wrong you were. He left. The courtyard remained frozen for a long moment. Then everyone began talking at once, gathering around Amara, telling her congratulations, apologizing for not speaking up sooner, celebrating the fact that someone had finally stood up to Okonkwo. Okonkwo stood alone in the center of the courtyard, his power shattered by 3 simple words. I want her. And he knew with sinking certainty that his kingdom was about to fall. Oh my God, the billionaire said, I want her right in front of the cruel landlord, paid 3 months' rent in advance, offered her a job at his hospital, started recording complaints for legal action, and the landlord's face when he realized the stranger was Chinedu Okafor, owner of one of Nigeria's biggest real estate companies, the man who propositioned her for sex, who said, nobody will want you. Just watch the billionaire prove him completely wrong. Have you ever witnessed someone powerful stand up to a bully? Or seen instant karma happen in real life? Share your story in the comments. If you can't wait to see Okonkwo's downfall and Amara's transformation, smash that like button and subscribe to Africantales by Zion for more stories where the cruel get justice and the humble get lifted up. Amara barely slept that night. She lay on her thin mattress. Chioma curled beside her, the business card on her nightstand catching moonlight through the window. Chinedu Okafor, CEO, Okafor Properties and Construction. Was it real? Had it actually happened? Or would she wake up to discover it had been a dream, and Okonkwo would be at her door, demanding she pack her things? But the 50,000 naira folded carefully in her drawer proved it was real. 3 months of rent, 3 months of breathing room, 3 months of safety for her daughter. She'd called her mother at the village, told her everything. Her mother had cried, happy tears this time. God sent him, her mother said. After everything that wicked man said, God sent someone to prove him wrong. Maybe, or maybe it was chance, or maybe kindness still existed in unexpected places. At 8 a.m., Amara called the number on the card. A professional voice answered. Okafor Properties, how may I direct your call? I'm looking for Mr. Okafor. My name is Amara Obi. He asked me to call about a position. Ms. Obi, Mr. Okafor left instructions. He'll see you today at 11 a.m. at the Foundation Hospital site. I'll send you the address. 3 hours later, Amara stood outside a massive construction site in Lekki. The sign read, Okafor Foundation Hospital, opening 2025. A woman in professional attire approached her. Ms. Obi, I'm Mrs. Adebayo, Human Resources. Follow me, please. They walked through the construction site, hard hats required, to a temporary office trailer. Inside, Chinedu sat reviewing blueprints with architects. He looked up when she entered, smiled. Ms. Obi, thank you for coming. Thank you for everything yesterday. Let's discuss the position. He gestured for everyone else to give them privacy. When they were alone, he continued. I meant what I said. We need nurses. Head nurse, actually. Someone to help build the department from the ground up. Head nurse? But I've only been qualified 5 years. You're skilled, compassionate, and you understand struggle. That's what matters. The pay is 180,000 naira monthly to start. Health benefits for you and your daughter. Housing allowance. School fee support. Amara's mouth opened. Her government hospital salary was 70,000 naira. This was more than double. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's the market rate for the position. Take it or leave it, but don't insult me by calling it charity. His firm tone made her smile despite herself. Then I accept. Good. You start in 2 months when the hospital opens. Until then, you're on paid preparation leave. Study, train, get ready. He pulled out another document. This is also important. I've hired lawyers to handle complaints against your landlord. If you're willing to testify about his proposition, they'll include it in the case. Amara hesitated. Testify publicly? Yes. It's your choice. No pressure. But he's done this to other women. Your testimony could stop him from doing it again. She thought of the young girls in the compound, of future tenants, of her daughter growing up in a world where men like Okonkwo went unchallenged. I'll testify. Over the next 3 weeks, the investigation unfolded like a nightmare for Okonkwo. The Lagos State Property Regulation Board inspected his 20-unit compound, found violations, faulty wiring, inadequate fire exits, illegal occupancy numbers, broken plumbing he'd ignored despite complaints. Citations piled up. Fines totaled over 2 million naira. Then the testimonies came. 7 women, including Amara, testified about sexual harassment, the propositions, the threats, the retaliation when they refused. Okonkwo hired lawyers, denied everything, called the women liars seeking money. But Chinedu's lawyers were better. They had evidence, recorded testimonies, pattern of behavior, multiple witnesses. The regulatory board suspended Okonkwo's rental licenses pending investigation. His other properties, he owned 12 more buildings across Lagos, came under scrutiny. More violations found. More complaints surfaced. 1 month after that night in the courtyard, Okonkwo faced reality. He would lose everything. He showed up at the Foundation Hospital site, where Chinedu was conducting a walkthrough. Please, Okonkwo said, the word clearly painful for him. I need to talk to you. Chinedu studied him, saw a broken man where an arrogant one had stood. 5 minutes. They walked to a quiet corner of the site. I'll lose everything, Okonkwo said. The fines, the legal fees, the suspended licenses. I'll have to sell properties just to survive. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said to that woman, for what I did to all of them. Please, make them stop the investigation. No. I'll change. I'll be better. Just stop this. Chinedu's voice was cold. You should have been better before. You should have been better when you made that old man beg on his knees, when you propositioned vulnerable women, when you told a single mother nobody would want her. I was wrong. You were cruel, and cruelty has consequences. So you'll destroy me for revenge. Not revenge. Justice. There's a difference. Chinedu stepped closer. I'm not adding new charges. I'm not going out of my way to hurt you. But I won't stop what you started. You'll lose what you deserve to lose through your own actions. I'll have nothing. You'll have what you can rebuild honestly. And maybe you'll learn something my mother taught me. Money makes you powerful, but character makes you worthy. You had money and power, but no character. That's why you're falling. Okonkwo left, defeated. 2 months later, the 20-unit compound went up for sale. Okonkwo needed cash to cover fines and legal fees. Chinedu bought it, paid fair market value. He wasn't trying to steal it. Then he renovated it, fixed all the violations, added safety features, improved living conditions, reduced the rent by 20%. He hired a professional property management company to run it. No more cruel landlords. Just fair, professional management. All the former tenants were offered first right to return at the new lower rate. Most did. The old man who'd begged on his knees. The young couple. Amara's former neighbors. When they moved back in, they wept with gratitude. Not just for the lower rent, but for the dignity of living somewhere that treated them as human beings instead of property. Okonkwo lost 8 of his 12 other properties. Sold them to cover debts. The remaining 4 stayed in his possession, but barely. He worked regular hours managing them himself now. No longer a wealthy landlord, but struggling property owner trying to survive. And Amara? The hospital opened. She took her position as head nurse. Thrived in ways she never had at the underfunded government hospital. She had a nice apartment now. Chioma attended a good school. Her mother came to live with them, healthy and happy. For the first time since Daniel had abandoned her 7 years ago, Amara felt like more than a survivor. She felt like she was living. 6 months after the hospital opened, Amara sat in her office reviewing patient charts when someone knocked. Come in. Chinedu entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought you could use this. I know you worked a double shift. Thank you. She accepted the cup, noting how natural this had become. Him stopping by her office, them talking about the hospital, about patients, about life. He visited the hospital twice a week, always hands-on with his foundation projects. And he always found time to check on her. How's Chioma, he asked. Happy. She made the honor roll. Again. Smart like her mother. Speaking of mothers, Amara hesitated. You mentioned yours that night, when you said someone helped her. Can I ask what happened? Chinedu was quiet for a moment. Then he sat down, looking at his coffee cup. I was 10. My father had left 2 years before, just disappeared one day, leaving my mother with me in debts he'd hidden from her. Amara's breath caught. The parallel was too precise. She worked as a cleaner at an office building, made barely enough to rent a single room in a compound not unlike the one where I found you. The landlord, Amara prompted gently, was exactly like Okonkwo, maybe worse. Chinedu's jaw tightened. 1 month she couldn't pay. Her employer had delayed salaries. She tried to explain. He made her beg publicly, made her get on her knees in front of all the other tenants while I watched. I'm sorry. She was sobbing, apologizing, promising to pay within a week. And he just laughed, told her she was worthless, a woman abandoned by her husband, raising a bastard child. Those were his exact words. Amara flinched. He said nobody would want her. Nobody would help her. She'd be homeless. Chinidu's hands tightened on his cup, and then something happened. A man in a nice car stopped. He'd been driving past and saw the commotion. Like you stopped. Exactly like I stopped. His name was Mr. Ogunlade, a businessman, and he did exactly what I did. Paid my mother's rent, gave her money for food, offered her a better job. He saved you. He changed everything. The job. He gave her paid 3 times what she'd been making. He mentored me, helped me get into university on scholarship, taught me about business. Everything I am exists because he saw my mother's worth when she couldn't see it herself. Chinidu looked at Amara directly. When I saw you in that courtyard, I saw my mother. Same situation. Same cruelty. Same child watching helplessly. And I saw my chance to be Mr. Ogunlade, to be the person who stops. Where is he now? Mr. Ogunlade? He died 12 years ago. Heart attack. Chinidu's voice grew thick. I was just starting my business. I wanted so badly to show him what I'd become, to prove his investment in us had mattered. But he died before I could make him proud. I'm sure he knew. My mother died 5 years ago. Cancer. He said it flatly, but pain fractured beneath the words. I had money by then. Could afford the best treatment. Didn't matter. She died anyway. I'm so sorry. The worst part? She died still believing she was a burden. That everything hard in my life was her fault. That if my father hadn't left, if she'd been worth staying for, everything would have been easier for me. Amara's throat tightened. She knew that feeling. That conviction that somehow you were the problem. I told her every day that she was my hero. That raising me alone was the bravest thing anyone had ever done. That I was proud to be her son. His voice broke slightly. She never believed me. Never forgave herself for my father leaving. Never stopped thinking she wasn't enough. He looked at Amara with intensity that made her breath stop. So when Okonkwo told Inobi would want you, I heard him telling my mother the same lie. When you stood there believing him, I saw her standing there believing it too. And I couldn't walk away. Not again. Not when I finally had the power to stop it. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. For everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. You were never invisible. You were just surrounded by people too small to see you. Over the next months, something grew between them. Not instantly. Both were too careful for that. But gradually, naturally, like a plant finding sun, he invited her to foundation events. She went, professional at first, then more comfortable. He met Chioma properly, brought her books, helped with her homework when he visited, made her laugh. She met his team, learned about his work, offered insights from her own perspective. They talked about everything. His dreams of building not just hospitals, but schools, housing, opportunity. Her dreams of expanding healthcare access to underserved communities. One evening, 9 months after that night in the courtyard, he took her to dinner. This is a date, he said clearly. I wanted you to know. No ambiguity. I know. She smiled. I wanted it to be too. There's something I need to say first. He took her hand. I helped you because you needed help. That's separate from this. This, what I'm feeling now, has nothing to do with that night or charity or obligation. This is me wanting to know you more. Wanting to be around you more. Wanting. He paused. Wanting you in a way that has nothing to do with rescue or debt or gratitude. Do you understand? Amara nodded, her heart full. I do. And Chinidu? I want this too. Not because you helped me, but because you're kind, brilliant, passionate about changing things, and you make me laugh. Because Chioma lights up when you visit. Because being around you makes me feel like myself again. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel obligated. She kissed him, gentle but clear. When she pulled back, she smiled. I'm sure. The backstory hit so hard. Chinidu stopped for Amara because his own mother was a single mother humiliated by a cruel landlord. He watched it happen when he was 10 years old. A stranger helped him, Mr. Ogunlade, and changed everything. Now he's paying it forward. His mother died believing she was a burden, and he's determined that Amara won't. Meanwhile, Okonkwo lost 8 of his 12 properties and is now a struggling landlord himself. The 20-unit compound was renovated, rent reduced 20%, and all former tenants invited back. And now Amara and Chinedu are falling in love. Real love built on mutual respect, not rescue. Have you ever been helped by a stranger who changed your life? Or seen someone pay forward kindness they received? Share your story in the comments. If you're ready to see the proposal and the legacy they build together, like this video, and subscribe to Africantales by Zion. The final chapter will make you cry happy tears. 1 year after that night in the courtyard, the Okafor Foundation held its annual charity gala at the Eco Hotel. 500 guests, Lagos elite government officials, NGO partners, community leaders, filled the ballroom. Amara stood backstage, nervous in her elegant teal dress, reviewing her presentation notes. As Director of Community Health Programs, she was presenting their year's results. "You'll be brilliant," Chinedu said, appearing beside her. "Easy for you to say. You've done this 1,000 times. And you've saved actual lives. This is just talking about it." He squeezed her hand. "Go show them what we've built." She walked on stage to warm applause, clicked through her presentation slides. 5,000 families served through mobile health clinics. 200 nurses trained in trauma-informed care. 3 new health centers in underserved communities. Maternal mortality reduced by 40% in our target areas. The numbers were impressive, but then she shared the stories. The single mother who nearly died in childbirth but survived because of their clinic. The elderly man who finally got his diabetes managed. The teenager who learned about reproductive health and made informed choices. The room was silent, moved. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted a full minute. As she left the stage, she saw Chioma in the front row with her grandmother, both beaming with pride. After all the presentations, Chinedu took the stage for closing remarks. "Thank you all for supporting our work. Tonight, I want to share something personal." Amara, sitting at a table with colleagues, looked up in surprise. "A year ago, I witnessed something that changed my life. I saw a wealthy man publicly humiliate a single mother because she couldn't pay rent on time. He told her, in front of her child and neighbors, that nobody would want her, that she was worthless." The room grew quiet, attentive. He was wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. Chinedu's eyes found Amara across the room. "That woman is here tonight. Amara, please stand." Amara stood slowly, heart-pounding, confused about where this was going. This woman, whom one cruel man called worthless, has transformed our foundation. His voice carried across the silent ballroom. She directed programs that helped 5,000 families this year. She trained 200 nurses. She built 3 health clinics. She cut maternal mortality by 40%. Pride radiated from him as he spoke. But more than her work, I've watched her character. The way she treats patients like human beings, not cases. The way she lifts up struggling mothers. The way she fights for people others forget. The way she loves her daughter, raises her with grace and strength. He stepped away from the podium, walked down toward where she stood. She's brilliant, compassionate, funny, strong. She's the best person I know. The crowd began to realize what was happening. Gasps and whispers spread. And that cruel landlord, the one who said nobody would want her, he was wrong about everything. Chinedu stopped in front of Amara, took her hands. "Because I want her." Tears spilled down Amara's cheeks as he got down on one knee, pulling out a ring box. "Amara Obi, I don't want you because I'm rescuing you. You rescued yourself. I don't want you because I pity you. I admire you. I want you because you're brilliant, strong, compassionate, beautiful, and the only woman I want to spend my life with." He opened the box. The ring sparkled under the lights. "Will you marry me?" Through tears and laughter, Amara nodded. "Yes. Yes, of course, yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, stood, kissed her as the ballroom erupted in applause and cheers. "Everybody wants you," he whispered against her hair. "Starting with me. Never forget your worth." The wedding took place 3 months later in a beautiful ceremony that perfectly represented them. Elegant but warm, expensive but welcoming. Chioma was a flower girl, walking down the aisle with confidence, scattering petals while grinning at her mother. Amara's mother cried happy tears through the entire ceremony, and in the audience sat faces that made the moment even more meaningful. Mr. Adeyemi, the elderly man who'd begged on his knees, now living in the renovated compound with dignity. The young couple who'd been humiliated alongside Amara, now running a successful business with a small loan from the foundation. Other former tenants, all present to witness the woman who'd been humiliated among them marry a man who'd proven that worth isn't measured in wealth but in character. During her vows, Amara spoke directly to every woman who'd ever been told she wasn't enough. Someone once told me nobody would want me. I believed him for too long. But I learned something important. One person's cruelty doesn't define your value. Your worth isn't determined by who left you, who rejected you, or who mocked you. It's determined by how you rise, how you fight, how you refuse to break. She looked at Chinedu, then at Chioma, then at her mother, then at the audience. If you're struggling right now, single mother, broke, scared, humiliated, someone wants you. Sometimes it's a stranger who stops their car. Sometimes it's family who never gave up. Sometimes it's a community that surrounds you. And sometimes it's yourself learning to see your own worth. She smiled through tears. But never let anyone convince you you're unwanted. You're here for a reason. You matter. The years that followed proved those words true. Amara and Chinedu built a life of purpose and love. 2 more children joined their family, a son and another daughter. Chioma grew into a confident young woman who knew her worth and fought for others to know theirs. They expanded the foundation's work, built second chances, programs specifically for single mothers, job training, childcare support, housing assistance, mental health counseling. Within 5 years, they'd housed 50 families, employed 200 people, and helped over 1,000 families stabilize and thrive. They named the main building after Chinedu's mother, Mama Okafor Center for Family Support. At the dedication ceremony, Chinedu gave a speech. My mother died believing she was a burden, that she'd fail me by being left, by struggling, by needing help. I spent her last years trying to convince her otherwise. I failed, but maybe through this work, through helping families like ours, I can honor what she was: brave, strong, worthy. Everything I am exists because she refused to give up. This is for her. One afternoon, 5 years after the wedding, Amara and Chinedu drove past a renovated 20-unit compound. They saw a young single mother, maybe 22, moving into one of the units with her toddler, struggling with boxes. They pulled over. Can we help? Amara asked. The young woman looked up, startled, then nodded gratefully. As they helped carry boxes, the woman said quietly, I'm so scared. I'm alone. My family disowned me when I got pregnant. I don't know if I can do this. Amara stopped, turned to face her. Let me tell you something. 5 years ago, I was exactly where you are. Alone, scared, humiliated. A cruel man told me nobody would want me. I believed him. The young woman's eyes filled with tears. But I was wrong to believe him. You're wanted. You're valued. You matter. This building, Amara gestured around them, exists because we believe that. This entire foundation exists because someone saw worth where others saw problems. Chinedu handed the young woman their foundation card. Call if you need anything. Childcare support, job training, mental health counseling. We're here. The woman clutched the card like a lifeline. Why? Why help me? Amara smiled. Because someone helped us. And because you're worth it. There was one more piece to the story. 2 months before the dedication ceremony, Okonkwo had shown up at the foundation hospital. Amara had been in her office when reception called. There's a Mr. Okonkwo asking to see you. Her heart had skipped. She almost said no, but something made her agree. He looked different, older, humbler. The expensive Igbata was gone, replaced by a simple shirt and trousers. The arrogance had been beaten out of him by loss and consequence. I owe you an apology, he said without preamble. I said terrible things to you. Cruel things. Things designed to break you. Amara waited, silent. I was wrong. Not because you succeeded, though you clearly have, but because I was cruel, because I enjoyed hurting people, because I used my power to crush rather than lift. Why are you here? Because I need to say it. I'm sorry, truly sorry. Not because I lost everything, though I did, but because I caused real harm to real people. To you, to your daughter, who watched me humiliate her mother. Amara studied him, saw a genuine remorse, not manipulation. I forgive you, she said quietly, not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry your words anymore. They poisoned me long enough. Thank you, but I won't forget. What you said taught me something important. Never let anyone else define my worth. So in a way, your cruelty became my teacher. Okonkwo nodded, understanding he was being dismissed. At the door, he paused. For what it's worth, he was right to want you, and I was wrong about everything. After he left, Amara sat in her office and realized something. She felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. No pain. She was free. 10 years after that day in the courtyard, Amara spoke at a women's conference, told her story to an audience of 2,000. A man once told me nobody would want me, she said from the stage. I believed him for longer than I should have. But here's what I learned. She paused, looking out at faces reflecting her past self back at her. Your worth is not determined by who left you, not by who rejected you, not by who mocked you or tried to break you. It's determined by how you rise, how you fight, how you refuse to believe that one person's cruelty defines your entire existence. And if you're struggling right now, single mother, broke, scared, humiliated by someone in power, listen to me. Her voice strengthened. Someone wants you. Someone sees your worth. Sometimes it's a stranger who stops when everyone else drives by. Sometimes it's a friend who refuses to let you quit. Sometimes it's yourself, looking in the mirror and deciding that you matter. But never, never let anyone convince you that you're unwanted. You're here for a reason. You're valuable. You're worthy. And you're not alone. Thunderous applause. Standing ovation. Backstage afterward, Chinidu kissed her forehead. Proud of you. Proud of us, she corrected. For building this. For helping people. For proving that cruelty doesn't win. For proving, he added, that everybody wants people of character, starting with each other. They walked out together, hand in hand, toward a car where their 3 children waited. And somewhere in Lagos, in a modest apartment, Okonkwo watched a recording of her speech on his phone. Tears streamed down his face, not of self-pity, but of recognition. He'd tried to break her. Instead, she'd broken free, and in doing so, taught him what real power looked like. Not control, but character. Not domination, but dignity. Not crushing people, but lifting them. He'd lost everything to learn it, but he'd learned. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth it. Asterisk from nobody will want you to will you marry me? From humiliated single mother facing eviction to director of community health programs. From worthless to worthy, Chinidu proposed at the charity gala in front of 500 people proving that everybody wants her. They built Second Chances Foundation helping 50 families, employing 200 people, changing 1,000 plus lives. Okonkwo lost everything and came to apologize. She forgave him but didn't forget. And the legacy? They're helping the next generation of single mothers know their worth. What's your biggest lesson from this story? Your worth isn't determined by who left you. One person's intervention can change everything. Cruelty has consequences. Never let anyone define your value. Share your takeaway in the comments. If the story inspired you, moved you, or taught you something about dignity and worth, smash that like button. Share this with any single mother who needs to hear that she's valuable and wanted. Subscribe to Africantales by Zion with notifications on for more stories where the humble are lifted, the cruel are humbled, and worth is finally recognized. Remember, if someone tells you nobody wants you, they're wrong. They're seeing their own limitations, not your value. You are wanted. You are worthy. You matter. Thank you for watching. May you always know your worth.